Everybody, my time. Today is going to talk about TB. So let's go. The White Death has been haunting humanity for thousands of years, or maybe even millions of years. It has been central with us around the campfire in the United States, or even when or for millions of years ago, or maybe even when we visit to Africa. It kills most deaths in Britain, and around 1 billion people die because of this disease, more deadlier than any disease, or more than any wars or natural disasters combined. Even today, it was the deadliest disease with the highest kill count. But do you even know what we're talking about? We're talking about MYCOBACTERIAM tuberculosis, which caused the disease tuberculosis, or TB. This disease has been known to come as a deadly disease, a very deadly disease, and was extremely hard to kill. Your immune system has to try to do it, but extremely hard to kill, and it may win the war. Let's see what would happen. So let's start. And the White Death is the perfect human predator, always trying to attack us, but slowly and not to wake you most of the time. The perfect human predator. The Mycobacterium tuberculosis enters through your airways and sets up homes in the lungs, where there are huge guard soldiers called macrophages, powerful guard soldiers that guard and hunt and kill then intruders. The TB bug is then easily been eaten by the macrophage, but this was its plan. The TB is the worst kind of parasite, an immune system parasite. And macrophages trap their victim and digest by fluid with acids to kill their victim down. But TB evolves with a thick layer of skin, so it became completely immune to those acids. Then the TB bug begins to dissolve down the macrophage, pouring it down out, and like a tiny vampire trying to attack an immune system. Then next it begins to multiply extremely slowly, slower, 60 times more slower than a normal bacteria that usually gets sick. MYCOBACTERIam, for example, if you get sick by it, it could take only 20 to 30 minutes for MYCOBACTERIam to multiply. But for a Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it could take for a day, which means 24 hours, taking tons of hours now. Because of this, after finding a victim, it began to pass to another victim, which it then began to multiply. Extremely slowly, and soon the tuberculosis travel from one macrophage to another, which then awakes your immune system. So neutrophils and dendritic cells came. Macrophages and your other immune system try to take down the bacterium, but that thick layer of skin makes it immune too. So no more with
so much.
So make it completely immune to your immune system. And if there are two if there are 2 bacteria, it could be enough to kill it. And if your immune system can't kill down the intruder of the bacteria, they do the next thing. Keep the bacteria, keep the TB from escaping. A new block was being formed out, and inside was being contained with your immune system and mostly your dead macrophages. It was being built for a home and food for the bacteria. Other immune systems got out too, so that TB can stay up for years. The block was protective so that medical patients could not enter, and the bacteria began to release chemicals that could eventually also dissolve the other macrophages in your immune system. The bacterium is living inside the blob, and if the thick blob if it couldn't hold it anymore, the blob was being released. Suddenly, tons of macrophages and flesh bacterium was being released into your lungs. This makes like a hard candy, and your body panics. Tons of soldiers lead out to the battlefield. They pour out information and fluids begin to grow up. But your lungs are not made to be a battlefield. Your immune systems don't care. They are flowing out with flamethrowers, which causes even more damage. As the more fluids grew up inside your lungs, you begin to cough hard, sometimes even coughing out blood. And again, this is all part of the plan. The bacterium is the TB is catching rides ready to infect new victims. You burn up in a high fever and begin to lose weight. You turn into a ghost version of yourself. Even if you're treated, this could take for months, or this could take for weeks or even months. The TB bacteria takes along, and as it begins to grow, it may take months, years, or even decades for it to flow around your body. And this is easy for children or those who are already weak, and the bacterium wins the war. Mycobacterium tuberculosis begins to spread to other organs and cause them to fail, and the patient dies. 1.3 billion people died this way, and it is so dangerous that it could haunt your life. But the worst kind of problem, the TB is the worst kind of problem. Instead of killing fast, the worst. Instead of killing fast, like MYCOBACTERIAM, like COVID-19, it spreads to. Mycobacterium, the TB bug takes too slow and fight and attacks your body too slow, and this makes you feel unnervous. So you don't feel that you're in danger. But actually, TB can spread from one person to another. More better than COVID-19. When the COVID-19 brought to the world, around three patients get infected from one person. An active tuberculosis could spread around extremely fast, taking out of 12 people, meaning that it could infect more people than COVID-19 4 times. It usually catches up in tiny dry drops and tiny droplets, in tiny droplets. This is mostly in crowded areas to get more infected because it spreads too fast, because it spreads too slow, and it gets along. But even though we had drugs, but now we're getting new drugs and drugs now. But if that's the case, why is this bacteria still the deadliest disease in the world? Well, actually, even though tuberculosis is almost extinct, it's still moving around. Now, because it's almost extinct, it's still in South America, Africa, and Asia area. Only parts of Asia. And as it soon dies, only 6 countries were infected, and the most areas were the Asias, which then began to fill up with TB again. And even though the Black Death has fight off the White Death, the population of White Death kills out even more people. And now this is on the infection. But it's a worse problem because we kind of stopped making new vaccines though. New drugs though. Yeah, because in the first 1890s, we began to make 8 different classes of drugs. But then 1 year, it spread too long. But we stopped making new. Delivering new drugs is extremely hard, and because it needs some time, and building it for a new one is extremely slow. There is a vaccine, but it's over 100 years old and not particularly has not effective now. Until we develop new drugs, 2 new truly drugs to fight off with TB, and also we also invented a new vaccine on the horizon. Companies also tested with the COVID-19, and now we had a true new vaccine and was ready to push the disease back until it dies forever. In the United States, only several hospitals recover along with most of TB patients. It's all over, and TB has not arisen, and it was ready to take back to your home of TB. Good luck, TB. So, see you next time.